Good morning. Welcome back to Indiana Insiders with Republican Mike Braun. Mike, talk to me a little bit about, we had obviously the problem with school safety, not only here but nationwide. Parkland in Florida, obviously, 17 people slaughtered there. We had our own incident here in Noblesville on May 25th. What do you want to do to promote safety but also straddle the line with NRA?
I don't think there's anything more distressing than when that occurs. I mean, everybody's impacted by it. It's terrible every time it occurs. Here in Indiana, I'd cite an example of where I think, first of all, to have this effectively controlled, the states are going to have to be doing more of it. When you rely on the federal government to do anything, they just don't seem to get it right. When I was a school board member for 10 years and 3 years as a state legislator, it was always being talked about. And I'll never forget, from the day I went into my first school board meeting back in the mid-2000s, you could not enter that school unless somebody let you in the door. So someone in our school district, was paying attention to that way before it, became necessary to do it or ideal to do it. So I think you got to make sure that school security, through your school boards, through the help of your state governments, that we try to fix that to where there's no one that can get into a school or around a school that would ever do it. When it comes to also the other thing we've seen with all these mass shootings and tragedies, there's generally a mental health element to it. And I think there were a lot of cues out there to where law enforcement now knows that's part of it. You got to take it seriously. And whether it's through social media, whether it's through you just hear it, do not take it lightly when somebody indicates that they might do it. So I think local governments, school boards, state government, try to solve the problem. Don't look to the feds to do it.
Talk to me a little bit about immigration, the situation here. I know both of you favor the wall. So are there any differences between how you feel about immigration?
Other than with almost anything he's done, when it comes to voting on something significant, he'll say that and then go back to what Schumer or Pelosi would want. On this issue, it is through the primary and the general, border security has been up there with the cost of health care, and people actually worried about Social Security and Medicare being sound when they get there. So we've got to absolutely secure the border. That caravan issue, that idea of an armada of people that are coming at your border in a brazen way because they know they can breach it, and they've been doing it for the last couple decades. I hope this is a time that we make a point that can't happen. And then once you secure the border, you've got to start attending to all the problems that have been associated with not having a secure border. And, I've been with that, would be, I think President Trump is at least talking about it and articulating it. And you've seen news clips where, Obama was saying the same thing and others, but now I think they calculate it differently due to the politics.
Let's get back to the economy a little bit. It seems like Trump administration has really had success with deregulation, and it's helped the economy pick up the pace. But on the other hand, we see the stock market's wiped out the gains. So where do we stand there?
Number one, when it comes to the economy, I moved back to my hometown. I'm a Main Street guy. I'm glad the stock market's been doing well. Everybody has a 401k or an IRA, and, that makes a difference. But the real economy, the Main Street economy, is doing well because when tax reform was passed, it helped small businesses, and I was so glad that Senator Ron Johnson was there, another business owner. There are only 2 or 3 actually from the business community in the Senate. And the sad thing is, when I get elected, Mitt Romney will in Utah, and I hope Rick Scott does in Florida, it'll double the business caucus. We've got way too many people that I think don't come from that practical experience to fix things. But the economy is doing better than it's ever done.
But what about the tariffs?
Yeah, the tariffs you didn't mention that earlier, but the tariffs, I've been one that thought from the get-go that with Mexico and Canada and the EU, it would be an effective tool, and he has actually had luck with that. I mean, you fix NAFTA to where that's been reworked. EU's at the table. All along, I never thought it would work with the Chinese. The Chinese are staging themselves to be the most powerful economy in the world and the largest, and I think they plan to do that and pull it off by the next 7 to 10 years. If their behavior was lined up with others that behave well in the world economy, it'd be different. But they steal intellectual property, they manipulate currencies, they subsidize industries. Tariffs would be the mildest of what they do. And I think that if they don't come around soon, we need to circle the wagons with other world players to ostracize them as bad players and get them to change their ways that way.
Donald Trump Jr. came in recently and campaigned for you, and he talked about Joe Donnelly being a rubber stamp, and yet I'm also, for Democrats, but I'm also wondering, as a Republican, some people have accused you of being a rubber stamp for Trump, that you'll basically just go and do Trump's will.
And that's not the case. And there where you find out who's telling the truth, look at your background. Joe Donnelly, when he moved to Indiana, went to law school, he was running for office out of the gate. And I don't think he was successful. Then he practiced a little law. And then he's been in the career of politics ever since. When you make your career in politics, that's when you listen and get your marching orders. Anything I've ever done has been maybe going against the trend a little bit. When I moved back to my hometown in '78, people said, "What's wrong? Why are you coming back home?" Well, I knew I had a good idea. Took a lot of time to pan out. As a state legislator, as a business guy, I had to outmaneuver the Wall Street guys for 37 years. I'm going to be an independent thinker. I like the fact he's shaking the system. And when he's doing the things that look right, I want to see how we're starting to lower our budget deficits. I want to see how we start doing things that are going to really empower individuals through tax reform. And then I'm going to be, always thinking on my own.
Mike Braun, Republican, joining us here live this morning. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
Insiders, reaction is coming up.